you're going to be playing Absolute Emperor, which is I think a bit of a gem, a bit of an overlooked gem from Osprey Games. And what you can see in front of you is the flank of Eylau. So the town of Eylau is over the river that way, and over here we have Tolstoi and his division. We have Benningsen, who's the overall commander, and then in the background we have part of Murat's cavalry reserve. We have Davout, and we have Augereau. Augereau was technically over on that side of the river, but I've moved him onto this side to get a bit of balance. And we're going to be playing this side of Eylau using the Absolute Emperor rules. That is the command under Augereau. It's 2 line infantry units with some skirmishers out and an artillery battery. Over here under Davout we have 2 units of veteran infantry. Those are represented by the wider infantry bases, infantry figures, and 1 regular line infantry, and also an artillery battery, and they have their skirmishers out as well. And lastly, on this flank, we have Murat in the cavalry reserve. That's 1 light and 1 heavy cavalry. And they aren't actually deployed yet. They'll be coming on later in the game. Facing the French, on the center of the battlefield, we have the large unit under Benningsen. Now, technically, these should be multiple groups, but at this time in the war, the Russians didn't have an effective distributed command structure, and so this will be a single corps, all these units on the hill here. So that's a unit of line infantry, an artillery battery, a unit of conscripts, another battery, and then out in front here, another unit of infantry. And the only real independent command on the Russian side is Tolstoi, who has this heavy cavalry unit here, coming out of the town in the rear. This unit of elite infantry in the veteran infantry in the farmhouse, and this unit of guns here. So, with that, let's get the game played.
I'm speeding up this first bit of footage because it's mostly just movement. You can see here we have different formations. These march column allow the longest distance of movement but the weakest firing. You can change formation at any point at the start of your move, but that then subsequently impacts the distance you can move. Here we've changed to attack column. Much like DBA and other historical war games, there is a zone of control exerted by units, and those skirmish screens are part of that. They extend out and lock units in place, and they are quite weak in themselves, but they essentially force enemy units to target them first. Right now we've had some first bit of combat going on here. The French get bonuses for attack column, and they've both taken a couple of casualties. Now Tolstoi's line cavalry are going to attempt to manoeuvre around that village and make themselves in a position to flank charge one of those 2 infantry units, depending on what they do. And in this case there's some firing going on, but they do manage a flank charge. That line infantry can charge the cavalry though it's engaged, but doesn't lock it down at all. On the right hand side on the hill you can see that marker has gone down to show a unit has been halted, which is one of the stages of degradation in the unit. The French infantry have lost the combat and so been pushed back, and the cavalry must pursue, and in doing so they fight another round immediately and it's destroyed that unit.
So these units are all in range for shooting. So the first thing we're going to do is fire with this line infantry and this artillery at this unit down here. So that will be 4d6, needing 4s for the line infantry, all misses, and then 2d6 for canister, needing 4s for the artillery, both miss. We'll fire with this conscript infantry, and we have to fire at this skirmish unit first, so that's 4 dice needing 5s. We get a hit, which is enough to take out that skirmish unit. And lastly, we're going to fire this cannon at the elite infantry unit there. It's just in canister range, so it's 2d6 needing 4s. We get to 2 hits. And 2 hits in the shooting phase is enough to cause this unit to become halted, which means they can shoot and fire, but they can't charge, which is going to be a problem for the French. The French in return will fire both units at the conscripts, punch a hole in the line. They need 3s from the elite halted unit, and they get 3 hits, which is enough to halt that unit in turn. And this unit over here will fire at them. It's only a regular unit, it's not an elite unit, so it needs 4s. And got 1 hit, which means they become disordered. Which means they can't do anything except withdraw. We will have this infantry unit fire into the back of the cavalry. So that's 2 dice needing 4s, 1 hit. And we'll have this skirmish screen fire at the artillery, and the artillery will fire back. So 4s for the green dice. Yep, so the skirmish screen did a hit and in return has been destroyed. Right, we will have the elite unit in the town fire on this unit of French infantry. Gets 2 dice, needing 3s. That's 1 hit. Now we get to charging. I think the most sensible thing to do is for this unit of French line to charge the conscripts, which they will do. They get 2 dice because they're an attack column, 2 bases. They get 2 dice bonus because they are French and they're charging an attack column, and they get subtract 1 dice because they're charging uphill. In return, the conscripts get 4 dice, needing 5s, but because they are disordered, they need to, and they're at half strength, they will re-roll any successful hits. Right, 3 dice needing 4s, 1 hit, and then 4 dice needing 5s, and then re-roll these 2 successes, and they get 1 hit each. Now they are locked in combat. We are going to have the French line charge this battery, and in doing so, it is removed from the game completely. We'll have this unit of infantry charge this one. Now, it can't charge into the flank because it would need to have at least part of the unit in the side arc, and it doesn't. So it will end up doing a very long wheel to get into the front. Right, it will get 2 dice plus 1 dice for charging and 1 dice for being French in attack column, and in return the defenders will get 4 dice. So let's roll. 1 hit for the French and 2 hits for the Russians. Just before we move on to the next turn, I need to continue the charge for this unit of horse, which must continue to charge. This unit, elite unit here, will attempt to form square. They will need 3 or more. Right, the cavalry will get 1d6, needing 4s, which they do, and the infantry will get 3d6, needing 3s, and they get 3 hits. Cavalry always have to withdraw when losing in combat, but because they lost and they took 3 damage, they are disordered. Okay, things are getting pretty heated over here, so let's see what happens. We've done all the movement, now we're looking at shooting. This unit of line infantry will fire at the heavy cavalry. It will be 4 dice, needing 4s. That's 2 hits, so that unit takes 2 casualties. We will have the guns on the hill. They're just out of range, unfortunately, of the light cavalry, so they'll just have to fire with a round shot. So it's 2 dice, needing 4s, but only 1 will count. So it's 1 onto the heavy cavalry, so the light cavalry. These units are in combat, so they can't do anything. Just a bit of impromptu moving there to get this unit out of square and bring them around. Over here, we'll have this unit fire on the built-up area, so that will be 4 dice, but only hitting on 6s. No, 2 dice, sorry, only hitting on 6s. And that's 1 hit on the built-up area. It'll be 1 hit on the skirmishers, in fact. So the skirmishers are removed. Then we have charges. So we are going to attempt to form square with this unit here. So they will need 4s. They succeed. And so we'll have 1 unit charging in the front and 1 charging in the side. And we'll have this unit charge the guns over there, which will take those guns out of action. We'll have this unit charge the flank of this Russian unit over here. In terms of combat, let's go left to right. This unit over here, we will have 1d6 for the heavy cavalry. They get to re-roll 1 on their charge. So they cause some damage to this unit here. And the light cavalry don't do anything. Now in response, the Russians get 3d6 against the heavy cavalry, needing 4s. And that's 1. And 3d6 against the light cavalry, needing 4s. That's another 1. Over here, we have 4d6, re-rolling any successful hits for the conscripts, needing 5, so they don't get any hits. And in return, we get 2 dice from the French, needing 3s, needing 4s. So I'm going to spend an elan to re-roll that attack, needing 3s. And I will spend 1 more to roll it again. There we go. So this unit is now destroyed, and they will need a 5 to keep their colours. And they fail. So that means I get 1 elan point from this unit over here. The French gain 1 for destroying that unit. Over here, we have 2d6 for charging, plus 2d6 for being in attack column and being French, needing 4s. That's 4 hits. And on this side, we have the same. 5, 6, 7. Onto a number of current hits of 4, so these will be just absolutely destroyed whatever happens, but in response they will fight back against the French, needing 4s, and they cause 2 casualties in return before they are completely wiped out. So we'll have the next turn, the French will remove their halted markers, and so will the Russians. This unit will form up in line, I think. The most chance of taking out that infantry unit. So now we've done all the movement, let's go into the shooting. Now in line, this unit will have 4d6, needing 4s. That's 3 hits. And the canister from these will roll 2d6, needing 4s. So that's 5 damage taken by this unit, which is enough to cause a waiver test. So to pass a quality check on that, so they will need 4s, which they just pass, but now they are disordered, so they can neither move nor fire. This unit of infantry will fire at the cavalry, needing 4 dice, needing 3s. And they already took 6 casualties, so actually they're destroyed completely. The unit in the built-up area will have 2d6 from this side against that unit, against this unit here, needing 3s. This is 2 hits. So they're up to 4 damage. And 2d6 against this unit that's already damaged here, needing 3. Another piece of damage there. Okay, charging. We will charge both units into the built-up area. And we will charge this unit of line up here. We will be charged by this cavalry on both the side and the rear. So if this is a victory for the Russians, it's going to be a Pyrrhic victory at best. I do apologise, these bases, because they're so light, they don't stick very well on these hills. Okay, here's the climactic conflict. This battle over here is going to go very badly, I think, for the Russians, but let's see. The Russians are going to be attacking their target, so they will get 4 dice, needing 3s. So they cause 4 wounds, which is enough to destroy that unit completely. Does it save the colours? Needing, because now it's taken more than taken more than 4 damage. It's fighting at half strength, so it needs 5s now to save the colours, which it doesn't. So that is Davout's unit. So it's destroyed and so on. It can't fight in its flank, so actually it is just completely removed. Now we'll fight here. So this is going to be slightly less good for the Russians. The heavy cavalry will get 2 dice for being a column, a march column, so attack column, squadron, plus 2 dice for attacking infantry that aren't in square, plus another 2 dice for attacking the flank or rear, minus 1 dice because they're attacking uphill. So it's going to be 5 dice, needing 4s. They get 1 hit. And the cavalry down here will have exactly the same. They get 3 hits. But if a infantry unit that is not in square is beaten by a cavalry unit, it is immediately destroyed. So that unit is completely destroyed. And there needs to be a follow through. So we will have the light cavalry follow through to bring them into contact with this artillery, and that takes them out of the game as well. So with only this unit over here, let's roll through the last combat of the game. We have 2d6 fighting out on 3s with this unit, 1 hit, and 3s on this unit, 2 hits. So we cause 2 hits to that, 1 hit to that. In return, we only get 1d6 for both units, and they will be needing, well, this one will need 3s, which it gets, and the other one will need 4s, which it does get. So that's 2 wounds on the beleaguered garrison. I think that's basically the end of the game. Let's quickly roll this combat through, because actually we have effectively got a pretty even stalemate over here. Right, we have played through the eastern flank of Eylau. Murat's cavalry reserve have proved their worth by sweeping through the centre over here, but the cavalry can't capture this town. And over here we have some guns, but this is quite a large town, and we have it heavily fortified. We are very battered and beleaguered in here with our Russian grenadiers, but they have held out. They've fought down 3 line infantry units without succumbing. And that's the game. So that was Absolute Emperor. I think it's a fantastic rule set. I don't think it gets anywhere near as much love as it should. It's incredibly simple. You don't roll buckets of dice, and it's based around the kind of command and control problems that I think you would have had in this period, where you have to give orders to your troops to do things. They don't just psychically know what to do. And when those orders are given, those troops need to adhere to those orders. And you can change them, but then there's repercussions from doing that. You know, you'll have less flexibility, your troops have less confidence in you, and so on. And the book is fantastic. The major problem is that there is no quick reference sheet. And there's even a couple of example games in here, lots of example scenarios. So I printed off this quick reference sheet, and this gives you all of the information that you need. So here's your phases of each turn. Here's your quality of troop, and that's, you basically have 3 qualities of each troop type. So 3 qualities of infantry, of cavalry, and artillery. Further subdivision of that is done with slight variations on the dice rolls. So for example, in the combat phase, a heavy cavalry will re-roll 1 hit on the charge, and a light cavalry unit won't get a charge bonus against any other cavalry unit. It just goes together so well. I cannot recommend it more highly for all these national special rules and so on. Just honestly, give it a shot. You absolutely will not be disappointed.